Hey everybody, this is Sliders Prime. And I was thinking recently about how much I would love for Sliders to come back in a reboot or revival, but I just don't see that happening. Even though Sliders has a fan group, it appears just to be a small fan group, and it's if they were gonna reboot it, they should have did it back in the day in the early 2000s and stuff. Because think about it, all the streaming sites Sliders have been on for over the years, they keep taking them off and everything. And it's because nobody's really watching it on those streaming sites, because most of the people who love Sliders own it on DVD. So why are people going to watch it on streaming if they own it on DVD? And then the ones also not watching, the ones who just simply never heard of it or just don't like it. So sadly, we'll probably never see a Sliders reboot or whatever. But I still say a few years back when Jerry O'Connell and Tracy Tomei was trying to get the show back up on his feet was the perfect time, because now all of Hollywood wants to do multiverse this and multiverse that. Why not do it one of the original multiverse series, And I started thinking about the VFX, and I'm thinking, you know what? This show would have benefited big time if it had the VFX of today. All this great CGI technology we have in today's world, they could have used back then for the show. Because let's face it, when it comes to the VFX of Sliders, it's very outdated now. It was in the 90s, and they did their best. God bless their heart. They did their best on the budget they had and the limited CGI stuff they had back in the day, using Photoshop and stuff like that, And it's when you go back and you watch certain seasons, like season 3, and you see all these monsters, and clearly it's done with computer, and clearly it looks outdated. And so of course when people watch that today, they're kind of man, this CGI is terrible. Even some people who watched it back then probably say the same thing. But they did their best, and you gotta give them credit for at least attempting to try, you know what I'm saying? But when I watch all these shows today and I'm thinking about all the VFX and stuff like that, I'm man, there is some really good technology nowadays, and it's on streaming shows. One of the best CGI technology there is the volume, primarily used by Disney. I remember a long time ago when I was watching The Mandalorian, I'm thinking, wow, man, this is some really good CGI and some locations, and man, they really dressed these locations up really good and everything. Until I was watching this one person's YouTube channel, and she literally said that everything on The Mandalorian is filmed inside a studio. I'm thinking, hold up, no, can't be. They're clearly outside. They have to be. Wrong. They're inside the entire time. Every time they're outside, it looks like they're outside because they're using the volume. And they do some impressive stuff with that. And now, because it all started with The Mandalorian, and now they brought on over to their Marvel movies. Thor, the last Thor movie used it. And it's a little wonky here and there if you don't know how to use it that good, but if you are really good and take your time, man, you can make some impressive looking stuff. And then there is the live action Avatar: Last Airbender, and those background shots look amazing, to where a lot of the locations are fake. They're on a blue screen or a green screen, and they make it look so realistic and stuff. And just something as simple as Aang going in the water to connect with the moon spirit, or what's it, the ocean spirit? Yeah, it was the ocean spirit. When he remember in the cartoon in the first season when he goes down into the oasis and connect with the water spirit, because the moon spirit got fried and everything. They did that in live action, and I assumed the dude was actually in like a pond of water. Like I assumed they was like outside, and there was like a little pond thing they dug up and just put the boy in the water. Nah, man, that's like all like blue screen, green screen, all this other crap. And I was just like, holy crap! Like technology today is so much better. And could you imagine if Sliders had that tech? Like, I remember there was a show called Once Upon a Time, and they used to use like CGI backgrounds on a green screen and blue screen. Sometimes it was noticeable, sometimes it wasn't. That came out in around 2011. And so the technology has really improved now. But if Sliders had that tech, they could do some really far out type stuff. Like, I wouldn't want them to go too crazy with it, because I want some worlds to look like ours, but then there are times where I want another world to look more exotic, more sci-fi, slightly fantasy and everything. Like in season 3, that mall that was up in the sky for their Christmas episode. And you can tell that it was some rough CGI back then, but could you imagine if they had that now? They could have had more elevators going up there, some flying vehicles going up there. They could have an entire city up there. They had like the volume and everything. And they could have had better movie monsters for like their 3rd season and stuff. And not to mention the vortex. Because the thing about the vortex, even though I like it, you can always tell like, where the vortex begins and where the real actual stuff, is around and stuff. And sometimes the vortex looks a little like gumpy, almost like paint that's be dripping out the bucket and stuff, or like clay. And so some really good CGI, like how they would do like the vortexes and like the Flash show on the CW, you can really make it pop if you have some really good fluent CGI technology and stuff. And then maybe we could have even got some people more flying around in the vortex, because they tried that twice and it just never looked good whenever they did it. And they could have really done something if they had some really really good CGI. So that really does suck that like technology was so limited back then, and technology is so much better now, but sadly there's a bunch of television shows that just suck right now. Like, and even when I try to give a television show the benefit of the doubt, because you know how you have like that loud vocal group that always want you to hate like a television show before it comes out. And so there are people who kind of like, oh, maybe it'll be good and stuff like that. And then you watch it and it's like, oh God, this show is boring. It's like, I can't even defend this show because it's so boring.